28, 2021. And before we'll call this business meeting to order, we will have the invocation led by Reverend Jones, pastor of the Westside Baptist Church. If you all would stand. After that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come over and pray for you guys and with you guys. And if you would just bow your heads. As we do this, can I just say something? That this is a serious issue. That you guys have an awesome responsibility. That you're making decisions for the future of kids. And that's why I believe it's so important that we call on the Almighty to give us wisdom. And so I don't take it lightly. I just don't want to come over and say a quick prayer. But I want to call out to the Lord God and ask him to give you wisdom as you make decisions about the issues that our kids are facing and the issues you're facing. All right? Let's pray. Father, first of all, what a privilege it is to even be able to call you Father. Father, I acknowledge tonight that you are the one true God. You are the everlasting God. You are the ever-loving God. You are the unchanging God. Indeed, as your scripture declares, there is no God like you. And so, with confidence, I come to you tonight asking, Father, that you would remind each of these school board members of the awesome responsibility they have. And Lord, I pray that you would grant them a wisdom that would honor you in their decisions. I pray too, Father, that you would remind them that not only their decisions will be for here, but Lord, that you will hold them accountable for the decisions they make. So Father, I pray again that you would guide them. Father, that there would be just a peace as they discuss these issues. And Father, that you would receive the glory for it all. We thank you that you are a rock in a very unsure time. And Father, I pray that you would remind us all of that tonight. And just as your word declares, if we will keep our minds on you, you will keep us in peace. And we thank you for that tonight. And Lord, I don't pray in the name of Brahma, and I don't pray in the name of a collective God, but I pray in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, the name above all names. Amen. Thank you so much, guys.
Next, we will have, we call this meeting to order. We have roll call, please. Here.
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 Here. Here.
Okay. We all are present. Next, we will approve the agenda. Have a motion to add time to look over the agenda and everything. To approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On item 4, approving the minutes for the November the 19th, 2020 board meeting and work session, December the 2nd, 2020 work session, and the January the 7th, 2021 work session.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that item? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we will have our finance report.
You have 2 months worth of reports in your packages since we didn't have the December meeting. The first report I'll go over briefly is the November report. You have the monthly financial statements, exhibits F1A through F3C for November 30, 2020. Followed by that, you have the combined bank reconciliation at November 30 with a combined reconciled balance of $5,780,226.31. This is the reconciled balance for all operating accounts of the Jacksonville City Schools, including the 2 local schools and the Child Nutrition Program. It does not include the funds held by Regions Trust for payments on the warrants or funds held by the State Department for the 2009 QSCB bonds. At November 30, the total of those accounts equaled $568,898.61 for payment on debt. Following that, you have the accounts payable check register accountability report for November 30. This report gives you a check-by-check listing of all accounts payable checks written during the month of November. A grand total of $259,768. Of that total, $114,482.02 came from state fund sources, $86,413.34 from federal fund sources, and $55,872.74 from local fund sources. Again, that was a grand total of $259,768.13. Those three reports are the required reports as required by the State Department of Education. They're presented for your approval, and they have been posted on the State Department's website and on our district website.
Okay, you've heard the finance report. Is there a motion for that?
Recommendation.
Ma'am, recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, the second set that you've got will be the December package. You've got the same reports in it for the December 31, 2020 financial package. Monthly financial statements, Exhibit F1A through F3C for December. Then following that, you'll find the combined bank reconciliation at December 31 with a combined reconciled balance of $5,826,847.65. This is the reconciled balance for all operating accounts of Jacksonville City Schools, including the two local schools and the child nutrition program. It does not include the funds held by Regions Trust for the warrants or the funds held by the State Department for the QSCB bonds. At December 31, 2020, the total of those two accounts total $647,403.45, and those funds are held for debt payment. Following that, you have the accounts payable check register accountability report for December 31, 2020. Again, this report gives you a check-by-check listing of all accounts payable checks written during December. Grand total of $238,420.54. Of that, $70,469.60 came from state fund sources, $47,773.34 from federal fund sources, and $120,177.60 from local fund sources. Again, that's a grand total of $238,420.54. Each check is listed by check number, vendor name, and includes a description based on the object code. Again, these three reports are the required reports. They've been filed with the State Department of Education and posted on the district website and are presented for board approval.
You've heard that statement from the finance director. We have a recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Also included in your package are all the regular reports that I provide for you for supplemental information each month. If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to go over those with you. The only one that I really wanted to flip over to and comment on is the fund balance comparison. And sorry, my pages are sticking together and I can't get my pages to turn. At December 31, the general fund unreserved fund balance was $4,272,895.64, which represents operating funds in the general fund for 3.84 months. At November 30, it was 3.94. So we're holding steady right there at that point. So I just wanted to point that out. We still have a over 3-month fund balance in the general fund.
Pushing forward.
And we're proud of it.
Yes.
Yes, we are. We're very proud of it, and we work very hard to do that. Again, like I say, if you've got any questions on any of the reports, give me a call, send me an email, stop by. I'll be glad to go over them with you and answer any questions that you've gotten. To our two new board members, anytime you need to ask me something, feel free. I'm there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Until about May gets here or April gets here, when you have to go do all those other.
It started.
All right, next we will have the superintendent's report and new business.
Well, in case you have not noticed, this month is School Board Appreciation Month. And you probably noticed by looking at your tables, you have some gifts there, you have gifts behind you, you have some things that have been created by Kitty Stone students over here on the table, and I'll talk more about those in just one moment. I want you to know how much, on behalf of Jacksonville, the city of Jacksonville and Jacksonville City Schools, how much we appreciate you being a part of the Jacksonville City Board of Education. You are not very well compensated, and I think you know that. You put a lot of long hours, thought, deliberation in making decisions for this school system, and we wouldn't be as good as we are if it was not for you all. We rely on you heavily to help us, guide us, to help make those decisions and help provide those things that we need in order to meet the needs of our students. Our mission is to prepare all students for a successful life, and we could not do that without you. And I would just want to thank you for what you do, and just know that I personally appreciate what you do, and I appreciate how well you work together, and the fact that you are in it to do the best you can for these students, our children, and our faculty and staff. There are no agendas here, and I just appreciate that so much. We have a very special guest here this evening, Miss Callie McFall, who's back there in the back. She's also a cheerleader. I'm going to let her come on up if you want to come on up. She's representing Jacksonville High School. She's also our senior class president, correct, Callie? Am I right on that? Our senior class president. The gifts and things that you have are being presented to you from the schools and from the students. So Callie's going to make a presentation to you now.
Good evening. Like he said, my name is Callie McFall. I am a senior from the Jacksonville High School class of 2021 and proud to serve as the class president. The theme for this year's Board Member Appreciation Month is Launching Students to Success. This is a wonderful metaphor for the important work you perform in order to prepare all the students of Jacksonville City Schools for a successful life. To be a Board of Education member, it requires generosity, a willingness to give your time to others, understanding, because the lives of others might be very different from your own, empathy, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel what they must feel, compassion, truly caring about making someone else's life better, patience, because the process doesn't always go as smoothly as planned, dedication, to stick with a vision and see it through. You've shown these qualities and so much more. On behalf of the entire staff and student body of Jacksonville High School, I would like to say thank you for accepting the charge to advocate for us all, setting our vision and goals, and making the crucial decisions that launch us to success. Please accept these small tokens of appreciation that have been placed on the stage behind you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Callie. I know she's got to get back to the ball game over there. We've got a basketball game going on, and we appreciate her taking time to come over and make the presentation. If you did not notice, I'll draw your attention to the bulletin board that is over here on the wall that the high school created for you, as well as those standing bulletin boards that are over there behind you. And I know you saw something when you came in the front doors.
Yeah.
So they really went all out, and I just appreciate them doing that. They do appreciate what you do, and they're definitely demonstrating that. Also, Kitty Stone Elementary School has provided some gifts as well. If you look on your table, The smaller mug there with the Jacksonville J on there, I believe is from first grade. Is that correct?
First grade?
First grade. Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
That's just awesome.
Also, some chocolate in there. You can never get enough chocolate.
That's the truth.
Absolutely.
And then the other gift adjacent to that is from the school in general, from Kitty Stone. And they have a nice little card there for you. And I know you all went over before the meeting before the work session started, and you were looking at all the posters that were created. Each grade level has created something there for you. It's always neat to see something from the students and what they have created. So if you didn't have the opportunity to take a look at those once the meeting is over, those will be available. Also, I noticed something interesting with the QR codes that are there. I think that was fourth grade that created QR codes for you. You can take your phone and scan that and then get a message, a video, thanking you for what you do. So, also, if that's not enough, I feel like a game show host here. There's one other thing also over in the lecture room. We have some cookies and some other things there that the ladies in the central office have put together for you as well. But once again, it is School Board Member Recognition Month, and we're recognizing you. And I hope you noticed on social media that we have put things out there, and the high school did as well about that. So again, we appreciate what you do. Okay. Moving to the next item, we'll have to shift gears here, and we'll talk about the COVID-19 update. If you want, I also have a hard copy. I've killed some more trees here for you, so you can take a look at those, or you can turn and look at the screen behind you. I'd like to present to you what's going on with COVID-19 and give you an update on the things that are occurring in our school system and also our surrounding areas. It's very important that we manage all of our data, that we're looking at that, and we're trying to keep up with what's happening in our schools as we make decisions about what phase we will be in. As you know, we're moving to phase 1 traditional instruction on Monday, February 1st. And that was a difficult decision that our district leadership team went through and talked about, discussed at length what we felt like would be best for our students, our staff, and our community. And as you know, we have 1,600 students here, 1,650 students in Jacksonville City Schools. All of those students are coming from families. You have parents. And every decision we make will impact them, impact their families, impact the community. And so we always take those things in consideration. But above all, we want to try to make sure that our students and staff are as safe as they possibly can be as we meet the needs of our students and prepare them for a successful life. The first slide I wanted to point out to you is the most recent Alabama Department of Public Health COVID-19 Risk Indicator Dashboard. As you can see, Calhoun County remains in a moderate risk. And basically what you can see to the left-hand side of the map, the colored map there, is we've had well over 14 days in declining cases in Calhoun County. That's a good sign that things are getting better. We're not at 10%, less than 10% positivity rate yet, but hopefully those things are moving in that way. We've met our testing goals, as well as the COVID-like symptoms are declining in our area. So this looks very encouraging as you'll think back, and at times this is one of those things I consult on a regular basis. It updates every Friday. so that we know where we are as a county, and it also gives us an idea of where the rest of the state is. We've been as high as a very high risk at times. And we have been in the traditional mode, and we've also moved to virtual or temporary remote, as well as the blended during these times. So we're currently at that moderate. Hopefully with those declining days, we'll see this moving into the green. But you see where we are. The next slide I have for you comes from the Calhoun County EMA Unified Command Situation Report. It just kind of gives you a breakdown of the 7-day new cases as well as the 14-day new cases. The red lines there represent 14 days. The blue represent 7 days. As you can see where our peak was in the county, and it almost mirrors where our peak was with the school system and seeing cases with our schools. So we saw a lot there in November, the last part of November and into December. Things started declining. Then we had an uptick, which makes sense to me as we're looking at Christmas and so forth. But then you see at the end of December, it starts trending downward in both the 14 and 7-day cases. So this is a good visual of where we are currently. The next is RMC and their hospitalizations. So you can see that in December, it went up to as high as 85 there in their report. And as you see, it is trending downward where we are now. And I think the last I saw was 44 cases, I believe. I don't know that. I don't remember that for certain, but it was in the low to mid 40s of cases, hospitalizations. During our briefing that we had with the Calhoun County EMA, RMC reported that in the ER, they're seeing individuals that are coming in that are not as sick as they were during the surge, during those peak times. So that's encouraging as well. And they actually have closed one of their COVID units because they did not need it any longer. I know they've done a lot of shifting around to try to accommodate the numbers of individuals that have come in due to this, but they're seeing improving totals there as well. The next slide, as you'll see, I'm giving you since January 4th to the current date what our cases look like in Jacksonville City Schools. One thing I want to point out to you on the date, January 4th, we didn't have students, did we? We had reports of individuals that were sick, that had been sick over the holidays, and they were not going to be coming into school. So anytime we get a report of a positive case, we put it on there. And that's where I think at times that can be confusing for individuals as they're looking at this, because there's a general assumption that those cases originate in our schools, that suspected cases and close contacts are also in the schools, and the transmission is occurring in the schools. But that is not the case. As we look at Kittystone, there are 11 positive cases during this time period, and what I wanted to do was capture when we returned and we were in blended for this month. 1 suspected case and 28 close contacts. We were doing very well at Kittystone until yesterday. We had a situation that occurred in a classroom or in a couple of combined classrooms that were self-contained, where the teacher tested positive, and then that impacted others. So we had more close contacts. So that number would have been a lot lower. But that's what we have learned in going through this. Those numbers fluctuate. I'm happy to report today the number of cases that we had were 0. And we had no close contacts and no suspected cases today at both schools. But that's today. That will change. That could possibly change tomorrow. So it's a very fluid situation, and it moves from day to day. You'll notice at Jacksonville High School, 12 positive cases, very similar to what's happening there at Kittystone. 2 suspected cases and 22 close contacts. As I said about the positive cases, those positive cases, if a parent reports to us, even if it's during the holidays, that there's a student that is sick, we're going to indicate that. We're going to put that on our spreadsheet. And for the new members, you may not be aware, but we've been posting since August our numbers on the district website and keeping those up to date long before there was an ADPH listing of cases. So we list our positive cases, suspected cases, and close contacts. So everything is positive. Every virtual student we have, if we are notified by a parent that a virtual student is COVID positive, we enter them. So it also reflects our virtual students, those that are not on campus. And the same goes for the suspected cases. If a parent calls and the child has not been there at school, and the father is sick and has COVID, and the child is demonstrating is symptomatic to a certain degree, then that would be a suspected case for us. So what we're looking at does not reflect just inside the school building and what's happening there. So our close contacts, we can have close contacts when a student is at home and a parent is sick or siblings are sick. So I think it's very important that I point that out to you when we're looking at these numbers. And anytime you have a question, please feel free to interrupt me. Moving on to the next slide, we'll look at I wanted you to see our Jacksonville Virtual Academy. We've seen some fluctuation in there, a little bit of an increase at the high school, but yet we're still not as high as we once were earlier in the year. We have 170 students at Kittystone. That reflects 19%. And I may have to rely on Ms. Morrison if don't get on to me. She's math. Ms. Morrison's a math teacher, for those of you that don't know. Don't get on to me if my subtraction is wrong. But I think that's 81% of our students are traditional students and coming to school. So when we transition to the traditional, we should see 81% of our students present if all of them come to school on that day. So we would not have 100% of our students even on a traditional day. Then for Jacksonville High School, 309 students are virtual students. That represents 41%. So 59% of our students would be present on a traditional day if all of those students are present that day. So we have to take those things in consideration when we're looking at shifting from a blended to a traditional. How many students are actually going to be here on campus? And we also are mindful of the facts that, for instance, on a high school schedule, classes are different depending on the need and how many students are signed up for that particular class. That class may only be offered one time during the day. So you could have a full load in that particular class. That does happen from time to time. And what we traditionally see and what we've seen so far is we typically have more 7th and 8th graders than we have upperclassmen. We have a large number of seniors who are virtual students. So we'll have more in the 7th and 8th grade who are present. I know Mr. Waits and Ms. Wilson have worked very hard to try to identify areas in the school that are larger, like the cafetorium, and offer that to teachers so that they can come in here and have their instruction going on in the cafetorium, or use the lecture room, or use the library, or any other large area that they can use in order to create greater social distancing. So teachers have the option, if it can be scheduled, if we don't have too many people coming into a particular area, if we do have those large classes. So we're trying to mitigate those numbers that we have, and mitigate the spread, and lessen the numbers that we have in the classes. So we will see when we go traditional on Monday, much fewer students. We will not be seeing 100% of our students reporting based on our virtual numbers. What I wanted really to go over with you is what we've learned and what we've learned from this first semester. You know, we had no idea starting out at the very beginning what any of this would look like and how it would flow. If I take you back to when you think back at the very beginning of the year, we continued to stay in the blended approach because we didn't know, we were afraid, we didn't know if we could move forward at that point because we just didn't know. We've learned more. We were afraid of a massive spread inside of our schools. And so we just kind of held tight there until eventually we did move into the traditional mode. But point one is what we have learned here in Jacksonville City Schools is little evidence suggests that there is in-school transmission. That's student to student, student to teacher, teacher to student. There is very little evidence there. There was a recent study conducted by the CDC. They're echoing what we have learned to be true here across the country, that there is little evidence to suggest that the schools are contributing to community-wide spread. It is not happening. So when you look at our numbers, going back to those numbers, when people look at those numbers, they tend to think that those cases are all a result of what's happened here. That we had 2 positive cases today, and that did not happen. I'll just say that. Let me clarify that did not happen. But I'm just saying as an example. If we have 2 cases today, they were a result of each other or something that happened here in school. And so that is not the case. Most of our cases are the result of household transmission or contact outside of school. That's typically what we've seen. We've seen some situations athletically related where the dynamics change, the structure changes. There may not be wearing a mask and all that we've seen some transmission go on there. But for the most part, it's happening outside of school. And one point I meant to mention to you, we are seeing, when you're talking about transmission in school, adult to adult. Yeah. That is happening. That may happen here when people go to lunch, or it may happen if, having meetings and things like that. We do have some evidence to suggest that is occurring. And the thing that troubles me the most is number 3. I'm happy that that the students do not test positive, but the quarantine net is very broad, and it takes in a lot of students. The 615 rule is what we use. It captures a lot of students and a lot of staff if they've been around someone. But what we have seen is when those students and staff are quarantined, in most cases, they do not become symptomatic, nor do they test positive on that. But we are following the ADPH rules the best we possibly can to make sure that these students that are quarantined or that are close contacts are in fact quarantined. We got some relief in December from the ADPH. Now, rather than 14 days, it's 10 days quarantine time. So we're very grateful for that. There has been a lot of discussion. A lot of superintendents have tried to talk to the State Department and the ADPH and say, could we do something about the 615 rule? Because there are times, and we know that there are times that we are going to break the 615 rule, but it's very difficult to maintain 6 feet of space. So can we narrow that down and look at that? They're wearing masks, we're doing all these other things, and we're not seeing school-wide spread, but they are not ready to make any kind of adjustment like that. So we have students who have been quarantined multiple times. We have staff now that are at the point of being quarantined multiple times. And that's the part that I hate about the whole situation, that they're removed from the environment, the school environment in which they want to be in. But it is the nature of the beast at this point. And I wish we could do something about that, but it is happening. We are having quarantines, but most of those that are quarantined do not develop symptoms.
Mr. Newell, have you heard anything from Montgomery regarding teachers being permitted to receive the vaccine ahead of other populations since they are in close contact with children every day. Have you heard anything on that front?
Yes, I have, and of course, none of it's good news in concerning vaccination of teachers. As you know, currently, phase 1A is where we are with vaccinations. So they are vaccinating those that are 75 and older, healthcare workers, as well as first responders. Teachers, educators, people in the school business are in group or phase 1B. There have been a lot of issues on setting up testing sites and having enough, vaccine sites around the state. There have been issues with that, distribution of the vaccine. There have been a lot of issues on that, and I think that has become delayed to a certain degree. And, the counties had difficulty in keeping up with the demand in Group 1A, Phase 1A. So the last I've heard from the State Department is that they're projecting possibly latter part of February, March, maybe, before educators could be vaccinated. And you may have noticed that some school districts around the state are receiving vaccinations. But they're going around the system there in which they can do. Anybody that's a member of the ADPH imprint system can request a vaccine and they can vaccinate. And so you have some local hospitals in areas that have agreed to vaccinate teachers. You have some pharmacies that have reached out to the school systems to vaccinate educators as well. And so that has been happening. I reached out to JSU this week. You may have noticed that they have requested over 10,000 vaccinations or vaccines so that they can vaccinate their students, faculty, and staff, and asked could we be considered to be a part of that group. Dr. Ryan there, who's doing a fantastic job, was very nice about the situation, and they would be willing to help us after they have vaccinated their people. And I understand that 100%. I can't fault them for that. They're taking care of their people. And they're going to take care of their faculty and staff as well as their students. I kind of believe that probably not everyone's going to get the vaccine. And so hopefully we could be included there. But they still have not received the vaccine, and they don't know when they're going to get it. So it may be March before that occurs. So that's something that's in consideration, but I responded to him that we would start looking elsewhere to see what else we could find. I've reached out to a local pharmacy rep to see if there's a possibility of us getting included with that pharmacy. They have done some vaccinations of assisted living facilities around in the area. See if that would be a possibility. I have not heard back yet. But what this has done is it's put this situation and where we are right now has put school districts in the position of trying to line up vaccinations for staff. And I don't mind doing that. I want to do whatever I can to support our staff and make sure that they are protected. But it just seems like someone else should be working on this for us. And I'm not, I want to make sure it's perfectly clear, I'm not blaming anyone at all. It is the situation that we're currently in. And I know that AEA is working very hard to try to get the teachers vaccinated. And they're trying to talk with everybody they possibly can to make it happen. So we're looking at other avenues, exploring those to see if we can get the vaccine sooner than March. But I'm not sure that it's going to happen. But that was a very long answer to a short question, wasn't it? But I appreciate you asking that question. Okay. Are there any questions about the COVID update? Okay, very good. Then the next item that I will move to, the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act. Are you familiar with that act? That was something that was put in place last year. It had an expiration date of December 31st. It did expire, but Congress and the President decided that they would extend that, and we appreciate them extending that. But there's a caveat to this extension, and let me go back and explain on the act itself. You know, remember, it's going to allow 10 days of paid leave for those that have been quarantined, or they are COVID positive, or they're caring for a family member that is sick or quarantined. And also, it would pay for someone who has lost child care due to COVID for 10 days. This was a great thing for our employees, and we have utilized that here with Jacksonville City Schools. To extend this, the board has to vote on this. This is an option that's given to all employers. If they want to continue it, they can do that, but they have to vote yes to extend the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, and that would expire March 31st, 2021. So this is a good thing for our employees, and we really want to try to do everything we possibly can to support them and help them in this difficult time. And so I feel strongly that we need to extend this. And so with that being said, I recommend that we extend the FFCRA leave until March 31st, 2021.
Heard the recommendation. Second.
Motion.
Any discussion on that? Probably not. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, thank you. I have one informational item for you. The Jacksonville City Schools FY 2020 Accountability Report is now available in the central office. Actually, it's been available since December. The deadline for making that available was December 31st, 2020. And for those of you that are not familiar with that, what that includes is our financial information, its funding and expenditure report by fund source, funding and expenditure report by cost center, and also by program. So financially, all those things, and anyone can come ask for that and see that. We'll have that available there at the central office. In the past, it's had student achievement in there. But as you know, due to COVID and 2020 and what occurred there, the U.S. Department of Education extended a waiver, so we do not have student achievement accountability for last year. So there's nothing for student achievement there. As well as we have our school safety and discipline report available for anyone to see. That is the SIR, the Student Incident Report, that has all of our suspensions and everything there noted, so anyone can see that, and those items are available for anyone to see. And that concludes the superintendent's report and new business.
Next item we have is personnel.
Okay, we have personnel, and that in personnel items A through E. Would you like to take those individually, or would you like to take those as a group?
Yes, we all like the group. We can go as a group on that.
Okay. Then with that, I recommend that you approve the personnel actions A through E as written.
Heard the recommendation, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7 passes. Okay. So now, Yes,
Item
ma'am.
8. In accordance with the Open Meeting Act, which is reflected in our board policy, Policy 2.22, Section 10, The board has been given a written declaration from legal counsel declaring legitimizing the need for executive session for the purpose of discussions regarding general reputation and character. This declaration will be included with the minutes of tonight's meeting. At this time, Mr. President, I would like to recommend the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussions regarding general reputation and character, after which time we will resume our business meeting for the purpose of completing our items on the agenda. I'll make that recommendation.
We have a recommendation from the board to go into an executive session. Do we have a?
Second.
Okay. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will go. Do we have an area that we can?
We'll go to the lecture room.
Lecture room, okay. I would like to say the 15 minutes, but,
Oh.
President, I make a motion that we reconvene in regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been heard. We have a second. Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are back. We have, section 9.
As you know, we need space at Kittystone Elementary School, and we've been looking at different architects and hearing from them and their ideas about what we need to do for an addition, an 8-classroom addition at Kittystone. They have done an outstanding job and have great ideas, and it was a very difficult choice, but I'd like to recommend that you approve Lathan Architects as the architect for the 8-classroom addition at Kittystone Elementary School.
So you've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vote. All right. That one passes. Next, we have public comments on the agenda item. No sign-ins, okay. And next, we will confirm the date of the time of the next board meeting. We have February the 25th. Is there a certain time that would really suit each one? 6 p.m. as we've been doing this, or I'm not sure if we'll have to have another work session for that thing, or
Might be possible, but I think it's kind of too early to say that we definitely will have a work session.
so I would suggest that we would schedule our business meeting at 5:30. And if we have to have a work session,
Okay.
do the work session at 5:30, and then the business meeting
Okay.
at 6. So for right now, we'll have February the 25th at 5:30 for our business meeting. And
That's a good question.
if we have any kind of recommendations, I would say just go ahead and do it here.
You're here?
This offers a lot of space for us, and we can spread out. Possibly by that time, we could do some recognitions,
Yes, sir.
and so we could handle a lot of people here to spread out.
Okay, February the 25th here at the cafeteria. All right, next we have board member comments. So,
Well, I just want to thank everyone for all this recognition. I feel so humbled and unworthy. I think it's a privilege and an honor just to be on the board. I enjoy it. Education's in my blood, as being a retired educator myself. And I just want to thank everyone for all these fabulous gifts and recognition and letters and cards. Feel very humbled.
any other comments?
I would just like to thank Jackson City School, Mr. Newell, the faculty, staff. I am just honored to be a part of the school board. I do live in a community, and education, as hearing what Ms. Watson said, is just a part of who I am. I have a lot of years in education, and I've enjoyed each and every one of them.
I want to say thank you also for this opportunity, and also thankful for the cheerleader that spoke today, Callie McFall, and for all of these wonderful gifts and acknowledgments. And we appreciate the time you took to do this for us in this time. And just so thankful. Thank you.
Try to
Same
give
thing.
everybody a
It's
chance.
just, when I first walked in, it was just, it's a little overwhelming. You know, it's just like, look at all this stuff. This is great. And we just so appreciate every bit of it. So, thank you very, very much.
And I'd like to say thank you also, and thank you to Mr. Newell and Mr. Waite and all the rest of the administration and everybody involved. It's overwhelming. It's great. I really appreciate it. But I think the thing about me is just I really appreciate being involved in the young people's lives in some aspect. And it's a little bit of different from being on the sideline and on the track for me, but, you know, I'm still learning. I'm still learning, and I just appreciate the opportunity that everyone's given me to be associated with the children. And it's just- Really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.